All right. So, guys, it's B-Day. It is September 17th. These will get returned
Good morning, everyone.
right to me.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, the flag is
I
over
pledge
here, guys.
allegiance to
To
the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a great day.
All right. So, people in the virtual world, here, folks in class, at this point, we're going to start. All right, so your book orders, you guys can take those, and where should you put your book order, you think, Michelle? Where do you think you should put it?
In my folder.
Which one?
Red.
Red folder. Okay. Take those book orders, put them away, put them in your red folder, and then put them in the bring back side. That way you guys can bring them back. Order some great books. And it goes right along with what we're going to do today. Okay? Because today we're going to be talking about reading. All right, before we do that, we have three things that we are going to do today. The first one is we are going to take care of our shields. So each one of you, as you do this, I'll be collecting page 1. So remember, there were 2 pages to the do now, or to the who are you. Okay. So these directions are for the second page. Okay. With the second page, you're going to have your shield. Now your shield's going to be all fully colored in, just like these ones are. You're going to cut out your shield if you've not already cut it out. I'm going to come around and I will let you choose a piece of colored cardstock, and then you're simply going to be gluing your shield to your cardstock. Now, people always ask, do I need to put my name on it? Well, your name is on it. It's right on the big ribbon. So you don't have to worry about putting your name or anything additional on it. And when it's done, it's going to end up looking like this. Okay, yours won't be laminated. I'll be taking it down and I'll be laminating them after you guys leave today or next week. All right? Questions about the directions on this? All right, let me pass out the construction paper, and as I do so, I am going to be collecting your first page, which is the answers to those who are you questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the next time that you guys see your shield, I'll have them laminated, and we'll be putting them up out in the hallway. For the people that need to finish coloring them, here's the deal. Now is not the time, because now we're going to move on to the next activity. So, colored pencils away. Shields away if you still needed to work on it. I'll take yours as soon as you're done gluing it. Okay. So yes, if you still have this, make sure you put that away. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like this is the first real activity we're about to do. So in front of you, we have a reading attitude survey. Now this survey is not going to tell me how good of a reader you are. It's not going to tell me how good of a writer you are. But what this is going to tell me is it's going to tell me how you feel about reading. And more importantly, it's going to give you guys information so you guys can really understand how you feel about reading. Because that's going to impact the way that I teach you. If you love reading, Michelle, I don't have to work so hard to get good books to you. Because you love reading, you know how to go out and explore and find great books. Another student who maybe doesn't have the same positive attitude towards reading, I might have to work with that student and help them get and find really good books. All right, so it's good information for me to have, but it's also good information for you guys to have. So the way this works is, I'm going to read the statement out loud. There are 20 statements. Okay? With each statement, you have 4 corresponding Garfields. I'm going to pull it up on our ladybug. Okay, you have the overly excited and happy Garfield. So if when I read that statement, you feel really happy about that, you would circle this Garfield. Okay? Then we have this Garfield who's just kind of looking a little happy. We have this Garfield who is a little grumpy, and then we have this Garfield who is really grumpy. So the idea is this, Jocelyn. We have really happy, kind of grumpy, really grumpy. So, I'm going to read the first statement. You circle the Garfield that corresponds with your feelings about that statement. How do you feel when you read a book on a rainy Saturday? Are you really happy? Kind of happy. Kind of like, I don't want to. Like if your mom told you that you have to read on a Saturday, it's raining, go read. How would you feel about it? All right. Would you be kicking and screaming? All right. Would you just be going, "Aww," or would you be saying, "Oh, okay"? Or would you be shouting for joy because you get to go read your favorite book? And you guys follow right along. We're going to do each one of these statements together. Okay. All right. Statement number 2. How do you feel when you read a book in school during free time? Circle the Garfield that corresponds with your mood. Question number 3. How do you feel about reading for fun at home? Okay, question number 4. How do you feel about getting a book for a present? It's Christmas morning, you open up a gift, it's a book. How do you feel? Okay? Once you've answered it, go right on to question number 5. Question number 5. How do you feel about spending free time reading? Okay, you have free time. How do you feel about reading during your free time? Question 6. How do you feel about starting a new book? And again, it doesn't specify. It could be a new book for school. It could be a new book for fun. How do you feel? I'm always excited to start a new book. I don't always feel excited after I get into it, because sometimes I'm like, oh, this book is really good. Or sometimes I think, Parker, oh, this book's not what I thought it was. But I'm always excited when I start a new book. Question 7. How do you feel about reading during summer vacation? Okay, question 7. How do you feel about reading during summer vacation? Are you guys online? Give me a thumbs up if you guys are following along with me. You got your GARP, you got these surveys out? All right. Question 8. How do you feel about reading instead of playing? Read a book or go play a game? How do you feel about reading instead of playing? If I said, Rylan, I know you want to play, but here, I need you to read. How would that make you feel? No. Okay, so follow along with us here now today, okay? All right, let's continue. Flip over now, guys, to question number 9. We're going to move a little faster here, because now you guys have the idea. Question 9. How do you feel about going to a bookstore? Question 10. How do you feel about reading different kinds of books? So like a science book, a social studies book, a book about like history, a book like a fiction book like we're going to be reading here, or biographies, you know, all these different things. How do you feel about reading all those different kinds of books? 11. How do you feel when the teacher asks you questions about what you read? Okay? It's like the number one thing I do, Cheyenne. I tell you to go read something, and then I bring you back into class, and I ask what your thoughts are on that. So I'm always asking you questions about the stuff that you're reading. Okay? So how do you feel when teachers ask you questions about that? Okay, question 12. How do you feel about doing reading workbook pages and worksheets? Okay, when you're done with 12, flip it over. We're going to keep on going. Okay, we're going to move on to question 13, guys.
There's a lot.
That's why we're going to go rapid fire. It's called a survey. We really want to hit you guys with a lot of questions so we get a really broad overview of your feelings about reading. Okay, 13. How do you feel about reading in school? 14. How do you feel about reading your school books? I know these questions are a little redundant, okay? They kind of overlap. It's all right. 15. How do you feel about learning from a book? Okay, right now these guys are learning online. You guys are learning from a live person. Well, let's say you wanted to go learn how to tie fly fishing, tie flies for fly fishing. You could go read it in a book, right? You could watch a YouTube video. You could go find a master fly fisherman that would teach you in person. So the question is this: how do you feel about learning from a book? I personally think it's challenging to learn from a book. I think it's easier to learn in person. 16. How do you feel when it's time for reading class? Reading class just began 20 minutes ago. How do you feel about reading class? Turn it over. We're on the last stretch. Question 17. And then I'm going to show you guys how to score them. How do you feel about the stories you read in reading class? How do you feel about the stories you read? Question 18. How do you feel when you read out loud in class? And I know a lot of kids love to read out loud and a lot of kids hate to read out loud. How do you feel when a teacher calls on you and says, hey, Sophia, would you read this out loud? Do you hate it or do you like it? Number 19. How do you feel about using a dictionary? And I'm talking about your classic good old-fashioned paper dictionary, not an online dictionary. If I was to give you a dictionary and told you to look up a word, all right, is it like no big deal? All right, I can go do that. Or do you hate it? Last question, 20. How do you feel about taking a reading test? So now, once you're done, you've circled all the Garfields. I'm going to show you the scoring guide. So everybody at home, okay, follow along. On the back, guys, on the back, you have a scoring guide. Okay, and this is going to give us your reading attitude score. I'm going to blow mine up really big so it's easy for you guys to see. Hopefully that's big enough. So it works like this. So here's my reading attitude survey. And you can see my page 1. Okay? For number 1, I circled the really happy Garfield. For question 2, the kind of happy. Question 3, the kind of happy. For question 4, the kind of grumpy. Well, it works like this. All right? The very happy Garfield, he's going to be worth, everyone write it down, 4 points. The very happy Garfield, guys, you're going to see, I put a 4. He's worth 4 points. Okay? The kind of happy Garfield is worth 3 points. The kind of grumpy Garfield is worth 2 points. And the really grumpy Garfield is worth 1 point. Okay? So what I do is this. I look, number 1. I circled the very happy Garfield. He's worth 4 points. So on my scoring guide right here, on my scoring guide, question number 1, I'm going to write it down. It's worth 4 points. Question number 2, I picked the kind of happy Garfield. He's worth how many points? 3. So I put down 3. And I'm going to go through my entire reading attitude survey just like that. So question number 3, my Garfield is the kind of happy. It's worth 3. Question number 4, I chose the kind of grumpy Garfield. He's worth 2. And I'm going to continue, all right? When you have written down your score for all 20, let me know and I'll show you what to do next. So right now, I want you guys to work on that scoring page, and I just want you guys to write down the numbers for your corresponding Garfields. All right? Did anyone take a breakfast today?
No.
Yeah, no one did.
No one did.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And I will come around and answer questions here. I'll pop back in here, and if anybody has a question, I'll answer your question about how to get your score. But for now, just record the numbers. Yes, Rylan? Okay. Give these guys a second to get caught up. Okay. All right. So, does anybody here have a question about how to figure out the values of your Garfields? Okay, good. Okay, did you already hand it in to Mrs. Mahoney, Noah?
No, I did not.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'll look because Mrs. Mahoney gave me a bunch of your papers this morning. So I'll take a look at it, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's all right. So, I know that Ryla is done. Michelle, are you done copying over your numbers? Okay, so what you do next is, let me get out my pencil, is I'm going to end up with 2 columns of numbers. What you need to do next is you need to add up your columns. So this column is for recreational reading. I want you to add up all the numbers in your column. Okay, if you need to take out your phone and type them into your calculator, you can. But these are all really small numbers. This is kind of mental math stuff, but I want you to make sure you get the right number. Okay, so right now, add up your numbers. 6, 10. Okay, so there are my 2 numbers. So did you guys hear that direction? So once you have your 2 columns, I want you to add up the numbers, okay, so that you get a total for your recreational reading and a total for your academic reading.
Okay.
All right. Rylan, did you already do all your adding?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna swing around, see where you guys are at. Okay, you got 2 numbers? Perfect. You're getting your 2 numbers, you got your 2 numbers? Okay. Hold on. Okay. Work on your. All right. So now, once I have these 2 numbers, okay, I have those 2 numbers. Online, folks, does anybody have a question online? Okay, make sure, if you guys are unmuted, make sure that you guys have quiet. If not, go ahead and mute yourselves. Okay, my numbers were 27 and 30. So, all I need to do is add up these 2 numbers. All right? I can put recreational here, it's 27, and I can put my academic here, and then I want you guys to add them up to get a full score. So my score is 57. When you have your score, raise your hand. A few minutes before the end of class. So, this is what these numbers ultimately mean. Check this out, guys. Okay. So, if you answered the grumpiest Garfield, you got 1. And there were 20 questions. So the absolute lowest that you could score, the lowest would be a 20. Hold on, Rylan. over here, if you picked the happiest Garfield, he's worth 4 points. There's 20 questions. 20 times 4 is 80. So,
I messed up a little bit.
Casey, raise your hand, okay? And then I'll know I need to come back to you. Anyone want to tell me what the middle number is between 20 and 80? It's the exact middle.
Like 50?
Not like 50, exactly 50. Exactly 50. So 50 is in the middle. Okay, so any score higher than 50 means you generally have a positive attitude towards reading. If your number is above 50, you like reading. Okay? You like reading. The higher it is, the more you like reading. So I can look at some of the numbers that I got here, guys. What time did we go to 10, 12?
Yeah.
I can look at a couple of these numbers, and I can see a person like Sophia, who comes in here at almost a 60, she is generally a very positive feeling and attitude towards reading, right? Whereas another student in this room, Rylan, I know that your score down here of around a 23 tells me, Rylan, do you like reading? No. You hate it, and that makes sense. You hate it, okay? So that just really helps me know that a student like Rylan, I'm going to need to work with you because my goal this year would be to change your attitude. I think working with me, your scores are definitely going to go up, and scores can be important, all right? But I almost care about this more, is your feelings towards reading, all right? If you can leave our room and have positive feelings towards reading, you're going to continue to read. If you leave my room and you have negative feelings about reading, are you ever going to pick up a book on your own and just independently read? No, probably not. Okay? So my goal, hopefully, is by the end of this year, that if I was to do the same survey in June, that your attitude towards reading would hopefully go up. Okay? All right, so now, your reading attitude survey. It's temporary. What folder should it go in? Raise your hand. Michelle.
ELA folder.
This should go in your ELA folder. So guys, your reading attitude surveys, your numbers that you guys got, if you actually wanted to, you could post them in the comments. You don't have to though, it's personal information, you don't have to. But you guys are going to hang on to those, put them in your ELA folders, hang on to them. At the end of this first unit, we'll get rid of them because we won't need them anymore. And once you are done with that, yeah, you can put them away now. I want each of you guys to, take out your why we read for 20 minutes now. We have just enough time now, guys, to talk about this and why your homework assignment is what your homework assignment is. Why do we read? That's what this sheet is all about. I just gave you a reading attitude survey. And whether you love reading or whether or not you hate reading, it's very important that we do take the time to read. So this answers the question for someone like Rylan. Even though you don't have a great attitude towards reading, that's all right. No one's going to fault you for that. It's important that we do read. So let's take a look at this chart. You guys at home, I know you can't really see it from here, so look at it at your own copy at home. I want to start with student C. All right, student C, this is a student who basically, this student doesn't read. Okay, basically they read 1 minute per day. So that's really, you're a non-reader. You don't read on your own. Okay, the student doesn't read. So that means that we take 180 school days that we are here. We're here for 180 days. We take student C who only reads for 1 minute. At the end of that year, Cheyenne, they will only have read how many minutes? No, at the end of the school year, how many minutes will they have read? 180 minutes. That's nothing in an entire year. Okay? And that ultimately means that, Parker, they've only read how many words? 8,000 words. So, you take that student who's only read 8,000 words, and now this picture represents the number of books that they would have been able to read. But more importantly, take a look at where they score. This says this student would score in the 10th percentile on standardized tests. Now, should you read so you could score better on standardized tests? No. Okay? But you should read for what these scores might signify for you. Okay? If you score in the 10th percentile, that means, Casey, let me give you the scenario. 100 people take a test. 100 people take the test. Okay? You are in the bottom 10. Okay? 90 people will have scored better than you, and maybe 9 or 10 scored worse. Is that where you want to be? No. Okay? Now let's take a look at student B. Student B, woohoo! Sophia, they're up to how many minutes per day?
5 minutes.
5 minutes per day, which is still nothing. Now, this person, by the end of the year, will have read, Jocelyn, how many minutes? Student B reads
900.
only 900 minutes, which it adds up to 282,000 words per year. That sounds like a lot, but it's still really not. Now, you take student B, and where did they score on their standardized test? Casey, can you see on your sheet? Look for student B, and look here where it talks about how they score on standardized tests. The 50th percentile. And so that means student B, again, you take the same 100 students, they take a test, Michelle. 50 kids score higher than them, and 50 kids score worse than them. They're kind of right in the middle. Okay? They're right in the middle. Not a bad place to be. It's not a bad place to be. But a better place to be is where student A is. Take a look at student A. Student A, Jocelyn, only reads for how many minutes per day? 20. 20 minutes is still not a long time. 20 minutes of reading. Okay? So student A reads 20 minutes per day. By the end of the school year, how many minutes will they have read? Michelle?
3,600.
Minutes. And that equals now, we're up to 1.8 million words. Okay? Now, Sophia, where does this student score?
90%.
The 90th percentile. So we take that same 100 students, Rylan, take the same 100 students, a student who reads just 20 minutes per day, well, when you take that 100 students, 90 students will be scoring lower than them, while maybe only a small handful of 10 kids could score higher than them. Now, I started by saying, should you read to get higher standard scores? And what was my answer? No, this is not why you should read. Okay? But what does these higher scores mean for you guys? Hey, Mrs. Wilson.
Yes?
Just so you know, I'm really excited because this is what we're doing right now. We're live streaming. We have virtual students. Hey, virtual learners, wave to Mrs. Wilson.
Hey guys!
Woohoo! We're also recording from, say hi. That'll be up on YouTube later today. And we also have a full room, and we're starting now to actually learn some academics. Things are going good.
Excellent. Good to hear.
So we're on our way.
Great.
Okay. So guys, this chart, it does show, okay, you're going to score in the 90th percentile. But this is, okay, this is what that means. All right. Have you guys ever heard the phrase about how doors can get open to you guys? You guys will have a lot more opportunities. If you work hard, if you do your schoolwork, more doors will be open to you. Okay? Which really means you'll have more opportunities. And that's the difference. This student, student C, they're not going to have a lot of opportunities. Okay? Every single one of you has some kind of a goal for after school. Or even if you don't have a goal yet, Parker, you're going to develop a goal, whether you want to go to a college, go to a trade school, go get a job, go join the military. Those are all different opportunities and doors. So this student, some of those doors might not be open to them. But this student, just by reading 20 minutes a day, they're going to increase their performance. They're going to increase the opportunities for themselves. All right? And that's what it's really about, guys. So why do we read? So that basically anything that you can dream, you can do. Okay? Are you understanding what I mean by that, Casey? I want you to be, can somebody mute themselves out there? I want you guys to be strong enough mentally to have every opportunity to you. And that's the difference between student C and student A. With like anything, with martial arts, if you have one lesson, great, but if you had 100 lessons, who's going to win that contest? The martial arts student with one lesson or the martial arts student who has had 100 lessons? It's clear the answer, Michelle, is
100.
right. And so, same thing when you guys are trying to get into colleges, careers, military, no matter what it is, okay? The student who has spent more time exercising this tool, their brain, becoming smarter and stronger, they're going to be the person that has more opportunities. So that's my hope for you guys. My mission is to make sure, Cheyenne, that you have as many opportunities for you when you guys go on into life later, all right? So listen, your homework tonight, we have 1 minute, is this. What is it, Parker?
Read for 20 minutes and read an independent reading.
So I want you guys to start, for fun, finding a book. Now, our classroom, we do have a classroom library. Books can be signed out of our classroom library, and then there's just some rules about how you'd have to return them because the books have to kind of go into a little 72-hour quarantine where no one can sign them out. But I do have books that are on below the Harry Potter banners. They're over here along the left-hand side and in the back as well. I don't have a ton of books in here, but the ones I do have are very good. They're current. There's some of the more popular authors like Gordon Corman and Jeff Kinney. So we've got the collection of books we do have is very good. So if you guys don't have an independent reading book at home, see me. We'll get you a book out of our own library.